gosh.
Oh, hamstring. Up. Sniper, take the other picture.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you can formulate opinions without having true facts.
I'm telling you, think about it logically for just a second.
Dear Reds fans, welcome back to the Zebra Zillionaires. It was a tough one yesterday.
Live from Chatterbox Sports Studios, it's Off the Bench with Tom Brenneman.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Our first post-Christmas Day show here on Off the Bench, presented by our good friends at United Dairy Farmers. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody had a great Christmas. Casey, we begin with you. Yay or nay?
Yeah, I had a great Christmas, Tom. It was full of just joy and no white snow.
Love that word. One of my favorite words.
Lots of food. I went to, like I said, like 4 or 5 different families for Christmas, and yeah, it was good.
Well, belated Merry Christmas.
Well, thank you, Tom.
Zebra.
It was mine was filled instead of joy. It was magic. Magic.
That's
and
another
wonder,
great word.
And hope. My favorite word is hippopotamonstrossus quipedaliophobia, but that was just, you said your favorite word. That was my favorite word. It's a fear of long words. So I think if we have to look back through my Christmas, I had a great time. Luckily, my grandparents, I have 4 grandparents still with me. Luckily, they all gave me some money for Christmas.
Wow.
To replenish all the money I lost on Saturday when I bet everything I had on the Bengals.
did you get new shoes?
I did.
Those are nice.
Look at them kicks.
I did.
That's a brand new sweatshirt, too, isn't it?
It's this one's not brand new. I've had this one, but yeah, I have a lot of sweatshirts at home. I pick and choose which ones I need to wear. But great Christmas.
Good. And Reed.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I don't think I stopped eating from about noon Christmas Eve till about when I went to bed last night. I think I just ate the entire time. So got to work off those calories.
Okay,
but it was a fantastic Christmas, Tom.
So that was the word fantastic we
Fantastic.
had, right?
Yeah, if you want
Okay.
a word, fantastic.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Hope all of you did too. We come your way Monday through Friday, 10 to 12. That's Eastern time. You can join us on YouTube, Chatterbox Sports page. We broadcast live as well on Twitter at CBox Sports. If you'd rather join us in podcast form, by all means, search Off the Bench with Tom Brenneman and you're dialed in. Got to point this out. My daughter gave this to me for Christmas. A mug. Awesome. Like my daughter. Humble young lady. I love Yellow Mag. So I'm a little perplexed. Last night as I'm starting this monologue, early this morning, and maybe you can help me out. I could use some help. The Bengals played 4 days ago. It seems like 3 weeks ago. We know they were completely humiliated by the Steelers, 34-11. We know that Mason Rudolph, who hadn't started a game in 3 years?
Yeah, it's been a while.
He throws for nearly 300 yards and a couple of touchdowns against a porous Cincinnati defense. We know that Jake Browning threw 3 interceptions and that the Bengals were 0 for 3 in the red zone. We know the offense couldn't run it in. 3rd and 1 in the second quarter when it was still a game. Couldn't get in from the 1. And then on 4th down, let's throw it. Let's throw it. It failed. So should we talk about all of that today or start looking forward? I'm still wrestling. I need your help. I guess we have to talk about it, right, Casey?
Just a little bit, yeah.
Okay. Kyle Caskey will join us at 10:30. More on that. Look, the Bengals' chances of reaching the playoffs took a huge hit. But according to fake news, the New York Times, they have an 18% chance right now of reaching the postseason. But, it's a big but, if they beat Kansas City this Sunday, their chances improve to 54%. If they beat Cleveland the following Sunday, their chances are at 94% to make the playoffs. So, can those two things happen? Let's start with the Chiefs. Right now, boys and girls, and we've been saying it on Off the Bench, For 7-8 weeks now, they're not the same. In fact, right now, they stink. And they're melting down before your very eyes. They go off on the officials a couple of weeks ago, yelling at one another on the sideline, questioning the play calling. Your boy Travis Kelce, a.k.a. Taylor Swift, throwing his helmet on the sideline. They lost for the third time in their last 4 games, the fourth time in their last 6 games, falling to the fighting Aiden O'Connells and the Las Vegas Raiders. They've lost 3 in a row at home. Sunday's kickoff 4:25 on CBS. Your guy, Elliott, Tony Romo, and Jim Nantz will be on the call of that one. Lots more on the state of the Bengalis. Elsewhere in the AFC North, the Brownies, Takeshi's chagrin, just keep on rolling, man. Amari Cooper sets a franchise record 265 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns, in a 36-22 rout of the Texans. Joe Flacco, 2 picks. Joe Flacco, 3 touchdowns. Cleveland is 10-5 with 4 different starting quarterbacks this year. And the Brownies play tomorrow night against the fighting New York Jets. They'll go to 11-5 tomorrow night. Brownies.
That's right.
The Brownies. They got it going on.
Did you see the news about the New York Jets, Tom? Aaron Rodgers did not want to be put on the active roster.
And you know what? I give the guy, whether you like him or not, I give him all the credit in the world, man, for coming out and laying it on the line. And he was backed up by the front office. He was backed up by the head coach. He fully expected to go on injured reserve and wanted to go on injured reserve. Everybody made a big deal about the guy that was cut loose. He had already gotten his money vested for the year, $1.1 million. It was another guy who got cut. But they wanted Rodgers on the practice field. It's amazing to me how the media, and let's be honest about it here.
Yeah.
Most of the media is liberal media. Most of them are irate with Aaron Rodgers about not getting the vaccine. So everything he does, they're going to make a big deal out of it and paint him to be the bad guy. I'm not saying that everything he does is right, but on this story, he got a raw deal, and he let those in the media have it.
Yep. Yeah, it's just a weird coincidence that he got elevated. Everyone gave him some flack, and he goes, "Oh no, that wasn't my fault. That was someone else's fault."
Yeah, it's weird.
It's just
doesn't
weird.
take the vaccine, but he'll do a whole lot of mushrooms.
Well, they're 2 different things.
That's right.
2 different things.
He's immunized.
Again, you don't have to like the guy, but you have to admit, every single story that comes out, he gets killed. He gets killed. And there are a lot of guys out there that should be getting killed that don't. Buffalo now 1 game behind the Brownies for the 5th seed in the AFC. India's 6. Houston is 7th. The biggest game of the weekend was the best team in the AFC against the best team in the NFC. And guess what? It wasn't a game. So I'm going to give you guys the floor. You've been laying in wait. You couldn't wait to get here. After Baltimore blows out the 49ers 33-19, the matchup of potential MVP candidates Lamar Jackson, Brock Purdy, and like the game, that was no contest. Purdy was awful. 4 interceptions. While Lamar throws 2 scores, runs for 45 yards, the Ravens lead Miami by a game for the top spot in the AFC. So, go ahead.
Well, listen.
Walk around. The guy has 1 bad game, and you guys want to kill him, but the floor is yours, gentlemen. Go ahead.
Tom,
it's beat down Brock Purdy. It's the first thing you said to me this morning.
Tom,
Tom, did you see the 49ers game and Brock Purdy?
I don't want to beat down Brock Purdy.
Yes, you do.
You guys were telling me how he was an MVP candidate, and I sat down and I watched, and I was going to see, all right, what do Tom and Casey see in this guy? And what I saw was a guy who got benched for Sam Darnold. That is, to me, MVP status. When you get benched for noted journeyman Sam Darnold, you deserve to be the most valuable player in the National Football League. There's not a higher achievement than that.
I can't think of an MVP candidate, or maybe an MVP winner, over the past 25 years that have not been benched for Sam Darnold.
That's right.
In the fourth quarter of a game that's very important.
That's right.
I just haven't seen it. And you were right when you said that when you were going through your monologue there, Tom. It was a battle between MVP candidates. It was Lamar Jackson versus Christian McCaffrey. That is the MVP of the 49ers.
Yes, you said that.
And I could name a couple other on the 49ers that are probably more valuable to that team than Brock Purdy. But listen, I'm not going to, like Reed said, we're not going to kill him. I think he's a funny little guy. I think he goes out there every Sunday and he tries his damnedest. And he's got every single weapon in the world around him. Brock Purdy is a decent quarterback. He's fine. He's whatever. But if you honestly look back and say Brock Purdy is the most valuable player of this past NFL season, you have not been watching. You just have not been watching football.
Brock Purdy does try very hard. Elliot brought up a good point.
He tries his damnedest.
He tries very hard.
And here's the thing about it. You notice it.
Right.
It looks
so
like
hard.
he's trying so hard.
Fellas, are you telling me
so
you don't
effortful
think
for
there's
him.
a chance? I mean, don't you think that this is the ultimate world of overreaction here? Is it conceivable that Brock Purdy just had a bad game? I mean, everybody has a bad game.
That's right.
True.
Lamar has a bad game. Michael Jordan had a bad game. You name it. Joe Burrow, your guys had a bad game.
I don't know about
Everybody's had a bad game. I mean, and all of a sudden you guys want to make this molehill into a huge mountain.
Yeah, but nobody's getting benched.
Well, here's
Dude,
the thing:
come
you're right.
on.
Everyone
come
does
on.
have
He
a
took
bad
a
game,
hit late. They took him out.
and
was
he was
medically
cleared
to play.
Cleared to play,
I
and they
understand.
kept Sam Darnold. Listen, Tom, you're right. Everyone has a bad game, and sometimes even MVPs, candidates, get benched for Sam Darnold. So when Christian McCaffrey has a lackluster game, guess who's RB1 for the 49ers next week? Sammy D.
Sam Darnold.
Sammy D's getting 20 handoffs next week.
Good point here made by Rick S. He says Tom has had a bad game. He's right. Everybody has a bad game.
I don't believe that.
Everybody's had a bad game.
Jake
You're
Browning
right.
had a bad game.
Jake Browning is
Yeah,
disgusting.
well, we'll get to that later. The Dolphins won a big game.
They
right?
did.
Yes, they did.
Against a good opponent, really, for the first time this year, 22-20 over Dallas. The guy who's got it going on right now, fellas, is Baker Mayfield. I mean, this cat's got it going on. He throws for nearly 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, as the surging Buccaneers beat limping Jacksonville 30-12. Tampa Bay's won 4 straight games to take the NFC South lead. Now, that's standing very much still on the line. They play at home this weekend against the Saints. Both New Orleans and Atlanta sit 1 game back of the Bucs with 2 to go. In the NFC, the Niners are the 1 seed, followed by Philly and then Detroit. Now, each team has 11 wins, but the Niners own the tiebreaker over both of those teams should it end in a tie. The Bucs are number 4, followed by the Cowboys, Rams, and Seahawks. College football, bowl season is kicked into full gear. Kansas won a postseason game for the first time since 2008 with a win over UNLV last night in Phoenix. Their quarterback, Jason Bean, throws for 449 yards and 6 touchdowns. 4 more games scheduled today, including the fighting Scott Satterfield.
That's right. That's right. Big one. Big one as he takes on USC.
Is he going to be on the sideline?
I think he will be on the sideline for that, actually. I think Emory Jones is traveling, too.
Coach Sat down there.
Where is that game tonight?
No idea. Is that the Pop-Tart Bowl?
Do you need a visor for that bad boy?
It's in Satterfield's backyard.
That kickoff is at 8 o'clock on Fox. College basketball, UC and Xavier getting a nice Christmas break here. Won't play until the weekend or beyond the weekend. And in pro basketball, man, oh man, the Detroit Pistons lost their 27th consecutive game, setting an NBA single-season record. Can you imagine 27 in a row? That's brutal.
Since October 28th, the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Detroit Pistons have the same amount of wins. Exactly 1.
They were. Could you imagine, Tom, if you went into a coma right after the day the Pistons went 2-1 to start their season?
Just a diehard
Pistons
This
fan.
is our year. The
This
bad
is our
boys
year.
are back.
Falls into a coma right after they go 2-1. Boom, lose 27 in a row.
Someone wake that guy up.
Brutal.
You know, it's
Brutal.
interesting about the NBA. Their ratings are absolutely falling apart. There was an interesting article over the weekend in the Wall Street Journal of how the NFL stole Christmas. And you know what? I found myself agreeing with that. A lot of people don't. Everybody watching this show is a sports fan. Something about it I didn't like. I watched some of it, clearly. But the NBA used to own that Christmas Day for a long time. I didn't watch that at all. But apparently nobody's watching that sport right now. If you've looked at some of their ratings the last couple of years, this sport's going right in the tank. Big time. And it's not like people are south on basketball, because college basketball, both men's and women's, especially women's, has gone through the roof, exploding ratings-wise. It's very interesting. You never hear anything said about Adam Silver and the job that he does. People want to beat down Roger Goodell. All he does is just continue to build this snowball that rolls down the mountain and plows everybody in front.
That's right.
And people kill Goodell. What is Adam Silver doing? He's watching this sport fall apart at the seams.
The NBA is so weird for me to get a finger on the pulse, because we don't have a team here in Cincinnati. I don't know anybody, seriously, and really have never known anybody in my life that watches a lot of NBA basketball. I mean, they might turn on a game here and there. They'll turn on the NBA Finals, but that's about it. I don't sit down and watch the NBA, so it's hard for me to really gauge how well the league is doing. I don't know if it's the fans are just tired of pretty much the conference finals being determined before the season starts every year, because that's how it was for a long time. It's gotten a little more even now, but yeah, I don't know what's going on with that league. But you are right. Everyone always criticizes Roger Goodell.
Yeah.
And I think he's the best commissioner in all of professional sports, bar none.
I think Silver's pretty good. I mean, Silver markets the players like nobody else. The NBA has the best marketing in sports, I'd say. The NFL is pretty close to that. But Roger Goodell, I don't think it's a bad thing that he stole Christmas. Growing up, I would never really watch a ton of NBA, but I always watched it on Christmas Day. They made it a big deal. That was really NBA's, I don't want to compare it to the Super Bowl, but that was their big ratings day. They'd kill Christmas. Everybody would turn on a game. Everybody would bet the under and all that stuff. But right now, it does seem like Roger Goodell found a way to completely ruin that for the National Basketball
But it
Association.
won't be next year.
No.
Like, it's only. I mean, this will
That's
happen
right.
every 6 years when
That's right.
when Christmas falls around the weekend, right? So it's not going to happen when Christmas is on a Wednesday or a Thursday.
You're right. Next
Well,
year,
it'll
I think
happen
it's
when
on a Wednesday.
Thursday Night Football.
I mean, yeah, okay.
I still think it'll happen tomorrow, or I still think it'll happen next year on Wednesday.
Is Christmas on a Wednesday next year?
That's what everyone says.
Yes. That's according to
Got a
Everett
leap year.
in here. Okay, let's get to the Bengalis. We got Kyle Kasky coming up here in about 12 minutes. I mean, you could go on and on and on and on. On and on and on. This is another example. When you stop and think that the Bengals this year, and you can say, well, is your backup quarterback? Well, that's true. But is Kenny Pickett a legit starting quarterback? I don't know. Mason Rudolph, he hadn't been. And you lost to that team twice. And Saturday's game was an embarrassment. Total embarrassment in every single facet of the game. Casey, your thoughts, if any?
Yeah, I was disappointed just like everyone else. But I'm not going to overreact to this, mainly because I feel like the game really wasn't like won and lost on a team effort. I know it feels that way, but when you look at it, really it was George Pickens had 200 yards and 2 touchdowns on 4 receptions. There was 4 big plays on crucial downs that absolutely killed the Bengals on defense. I mean, look at the rest of the stats. They were 30 for 113. That's only 3.8 yards a carry.
Yep.
And I know they had 2 touchdowns, but they were getting down in the red zone and converting in the red zone.
Yep.
I thought they did a decent job without DJ Reader. And you go back and look at the film, poor BJ Hill. I mean, he was just getting double teamed every time, getting pushed back 5-6 yards. That wasn't good.
Yep.
But if you take away George Pickens, right? If you were to wipe away the mistakes on the secondary, which a lot of what ifs there, I think they have a much better game on defense. Now, that didn't happen. And we got to look at the secondary because it got exposed by George Pickens. And it wasn't just DJ Turner. It wasn't just Dax Hill. Awuzie gave up some big plays. Secondary, not a great day. On offense, it just wasn't Jake Browning's day. Not his day at all. I mean, he tries to throw the ball out of bounds, and he basically throws up a punt to 3 Steelers. I mean, could not be a worse way to start the offense. And, you know, on top of that, offensive line got bullied again. And it wasn't like we've got guys that are journeymen that won't be on the team later on. Maybe Jonah Williams won't be there next year.
It was the Jonah Williams game.
But, yeah, Jonah Williams got his tail kicked. Orlando Brown, I mean, he's getting bullied by Alex Highsmith.
Yep.
That's not even their best edge rusher. Volson's getting bullied by the Cam Hayward. And, I mean, that's what happened 3-4 weeks ago. So they didn't really change their game plan. And maybe we would have seen more running, but they were down 21-0, 24-0 at the end of the half. So where do you run the ball? You can't run. You can't establish the run when you're down that much.
Yeah.
So people that want to say they needed to run the ball more, I get that, but when you're down 24-0, you got to start throwing to get back into the game. T. Higgins had a great play coming out of the half, but then you give up another big play to George Pickens, makes it 30-something to 8, and you just can't come back from that. You just can't.
Casey, I don't mean to pick on you here, but you were like, I'm not going to be overly down on this team. I don't want to say it was any of the players. Then you went and picked apart every single part of this Bengals team. You said the line was bad, the secondary was bad, the quarterback was bad,
Punter was bad.
The punter,
I know, but I feel like it all stemmed from like 4 or 5 plays. It wasn't like the entire game. Like, it started off with the George Pickens 86-yard slant to the house.
Right.
And then after that, the Jake Browning interception. 2 really just, like, dumb plays where it's just like, how do you give that up? How do you throw that ball? And then from there, it just snowballed on both sides. I don't feel like that truly reflects the talent level or the how they should have performed, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. How many times are you going to give up a deep ball to George Pickens?
Listen,
Like, how many times is Jake Browning going to throw a gimme ball in the back of the end zone when he's trying to throw it out of bounds? Like, that just doesn't truly reflect what this team is, who they are. I think it was just a bad game.
I want to kill Jake Browning for a second, because if we're going to talk about that interception, which I think is maybe the worst interception I've seen from a quarterback, if an NFL quarterback, and listen, he's been fantastic over the last 3 weeks. He's been more than serviceable as a backup. He really has been great. I mean, you mentioned all the stats. He's had some of the best stats for the first 4 starts in a quarterback's history. But if you're a quarterback in the National Football League and you're trying to throw the ball out of bounds,
You can't do that, yeah.
and you missed by like 4 yards, 5. Like he was 8 yards short of the end. He was 4 yards in from the out of bounds.
That was like 10 feet.
How does a National Football League quarterback try to throw the ball out of bounds and can't do that? That one play isn't the reason the Bengals lost. I just can't wrap my brain around how a dude that is playing professional football as a quarterback is trying to throw the ball out of bounds and throws it 10 feet in play and 10 feet short. Besides the point, but it was a complete embarrassment. Listen, I talked last week before we went off for the holidays about how the Steelers have completely warped my brain as a Bengals fan. I'm trying to shed all of the pain of yesteryears of being a Bengals fan every time I watch them, because they do come back. They do these things that old Bengals teams don't do. But for some reason, when we go head-to-head against Mike Tomlin, it turns into tough sledding. And we're sitting around making fun of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Tomlin's lost the locker room. George Pickens is a bum. And what does George Pickens do? He completely tears up the team. There wasn't a single aspect of the game that you can look at and have some redeeming qualities if you're a Bengals fan.
Yep.
The pass rush wasn't there. The secondary was non-existent. They couldn't establish the running, and then they got behind, so they couldn't run the ball at all. And on top of that, Jake Browning plays across the board was very reminiscent of what we thought this team was going to be after they lost to the Steelers the first time. We thought we were going to see this for 7 more weeks. So it's a consistent, and it's consistently inconsistent, right? 2 steps forward, 9 steps back. 3 steps forward, 12 steps back with the Cincinnati Bengals. And I'm sitting here trying to talk up Zach Taylor because I do think he's done a fantastic job as a coach. But then you show up for a game that with playoff aspirations against the easiest team you have on your schedule remaining, and you completely no-show the game. I don't know how the hell that happens.
I was watching it on Saturday, and it was a nightmare. Losing to the Steelers in general is terrible. They've owned us. They are now 70-39 against the Bengals all time.
Oh,
losing a game that's essentially not a must-win, but it's pretty much a playoff game.
Yeah, that's right.
It's pretty much a playoff game.
Right.
You have to win 2 or 3 to get into the postseason. That was one you think you can win. Losing a game like that is tough. Losing to a Steelers team on their 3rd-string quarterback, that should be their 3rd-string quarterback, and Mason Rudolph. Losing to a team that hasn't been successful at throwing the ball all season long, getting absolutely eviscerated by Najee Harris. It was an embarrassment. To not be competitive in that football game is a joke. And this is why I make jokes about Zach Taylor, and this is why I'll never really believe in him, because it's almost impossible for a team to show such progress, such hope. They give the fan base such hope. They play so well. And then it all just disappears. Good teams don't do that. The Kansas City Chiefs, they looked terrible against the Raiders, but they were in the game. They were competitive. Very rarely do you see the Kansas City Chiefs get blown out. The Eagles get blown out. Very rarely. It happens, but rarely. It happens to Taylor a couple times a year where it's like, what are you doing? How is this possible? And Jake Browning, again, I've been on the Jake Browning bandwagon since he started playing well against the Jaguars. But at the end of the day, he has been terrible. He wasn't good. He wasn't good yesterday on Saturday. He hasn't been very good. I think he gets away with a lot of stuff because of the screens, and maybe that's the new offense. But I'm watching that game, and it's like Drew Sample in on every single 3rd down.
That's been that like.
It has not been that way on every single 3rd down. It has not been Drew Sample. It has not been for 75%. It's been maybe 25%. He'll come in, but it is not. It is not more than not. Where Drew Sample is in every single 3rd down. That was a new phenomenon. And it was bad. Jake Browning, it makes you wonder if that T. Higgins catch, if that's what he was trying to do yesterday. If it's the same thing, he was just trying to throw it out of bounds, but he's so bad that it somehow stayed in bounds. And luckily,
I don't understand how that happened.
And luckily, T. Higgins was down there to catch it. Maybe that was the same exact throw. How do you miss your trajectory by 25 feet?
Here's the thing, Tom, and he brought up a point about just getting bullied, just getting blown out. The Bengals have been blown out for better or worse 4 times this year. They got blown out on Saturday against the Steelers. They got blown out in Week 1 against the Browns. They got blown out in Nashville, Tennessee against the Tennessee Titans. And they got blown out when Joe Burrow got hurt on Thursday Night Football against the Ravens. What do those 4 teams have in common, Tom? The Browns, Ravens, Titans, Steelers. Physical football teams. That's the name of the game. And that's the one thing that Zach Taylor can't overcome. When he's playing teams that, kind of move the ball all around, like the Chiefs. Like we've had a lot of success against the Chiefs. The game plan's good. But when it comes down to playing between the tackles, Zach Taylor and the Cincinnati Bengals, they can't fit the bill. They can't fit the bill. They cannot get as physical. They cannot play these physical games against these physical teams.
Well, and look no further to back up your point. 0-5 in the division.
Right.
0-5 in the division against teams that everybody looks at, good, bad, or indifferent. The MO, at least for the last couple of years, if the Browns have gotten better under Stefanski, right? The Ravens have always been good. The Steelers have always been good. People look at them as bullies. That's what they look at those teams as, bullies. Whereas the Bengals are viewed as the skill, right, quarterback, wide receiver, running back, got it going on. Let's send our receivers out there and just sling it around. Well, most plays in a football game, you've got to line up and hit somebody. The guy who's lined up across from you in the line of scrimmage. And it's a mano-a-mano. You're going to get bullied or you're going to do the bully. And inside their own division, they have been embarrassed. Kyle Kasky, He was along the NFL sidelines for a long, long time as a coach. Here with the Bengals for a decade and has his show. You saw it last night. It's always great to have him on to talk about what's really going on. We were pumping up your show yesterday, Kyle. Hope it went well last night. Post Merry Christmas. Hope you had a good Christmas. First and foremost, and most important thing of all.
Well, no, it was a great Christmas here, man. I mean, Santa came. We got 6'4" and a 2-year-old, and Santa came and visited them. I guess they've been good. I've seen different throughout the year, but he brought me some cologne, so I'll put it on for you guys. But I don't know if you can smell it today or not. But that's basically all I got. So.
I can, and it smells good. It doesn't smell much like the Bengals did on Sunday. Or on Saturday. I can promise you. What happened?
I was listening to what y'all were just talking about there right before I came on, and I think you hit it on the head. They got bullied around and up front. I think if you take a look at a team like one of my former teams, the Detroit Lions that I was on, and what they're doing, they've got all the skill guys too now, and they've got a good quarterback in Goff that's playing at a high level. But they still they will line up and still run it down your throat if they need to. And it lines up their play actions and their naked throws and different things. And it takes guys out of just doing what Pittsburgh did the other day. Pittsburgh blitzed 12 out of like 58 snaps, which is not normal for Pittsburgh, at least in my recollection of them. What that's telling you is this: they played a mix of cover 2, Tampa 2, 2-man, and cover 3. So they had 3 coverages with 4-man rushes for the majority of the time, except for 12 snaps. And what they were saying right there was, we just need 4 guys up front. We'll let the rest of our guys, play the run when they need to, but we're going to drop into coverage and we're going to take the pass away from you, and we're daring you to run. And, they still didn't run it enough, I would say. And I get it now. One of y'all said it a minute ago about, it was 24-0. I think Casey was talking about it. It was 24-0 at one point. And it was 7-0 real quick. And I think the mentality of this team, this current team, is when you get down early, you're throwing to get back in it. And that's not necessarily true when it's a one score, maybe 10-point game. It gets to 14, 21, 24. Yeah, you probably should start throwing it and get some chunk yardage. But they were getting bullied, man. I mean, go watch Pittsburgh's run game. They were taking the line of scrimmage and pushing it back 5-6 yards at a time on the goal line, doing the same thing. And then up front with the Bengals O-line, they were pinching with their 3 techniques and moving around, and it was causing some issues on the run game. And then obviously, I mean, they just got flat ran around a few times in the pass rush. So it all started right there. I mean, it just started with a mentality. And again, I don't know what it is about Pittsburgh, but it's been that way since I was there. Been that way probably since before I was there. Was the Bengals, when it comes to Pittsburgh, have a little bit different mentality, and I don't know why. They don't have to. Just go in there and pretend like they've got on, white helmets and white shirts and white pants and just go. Like, don't think of any logos. Don't think of where you're at. Just play against the dudes that are there. And apparently it's just a problem right now.
I want to take a look before we get – no, let's stay with the offensive line, because you coached in the offensive line in the NFL for a long, long time, along with a running backs coach with the Bengals when you were here, among others. But when you look at that line, and Coach, I've asked you about this so many times, I feel like we're beating a dead horse, so to speak. But it seems like, Reed pointed out a moment ago, with this group, you'll have a 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. When you watch the offensive line collectively, and you can break it down individually if you want to, Jonah Williams had a tough day. A lot of guys have a tough day against T.J. Watt. I mean, they do. He's a great player. He's one of the best in the league. But, if you're starting to look ahead to next year and you've got all those guys under contract instead of Jonah Williams, except for Jonah Williams, do you keep that same group together? I mean, Brown's not going anywhere. You've signed Karras and Kappa as free agents, each with another year left, and Volson's a young guy. But what would you do looking at that line moving forward?
Well, here's what's nuts about the line is everybody wanted to beat up on Volson, and honestly, when I'm doing my film review, like, he's one of the few that doesn't show up all that often. Yeah, he shows up every once in a while because he's going to. I mean, any offensive lineman is going to get beat from time to time during a game because obviously those defensive linemen are highly paid players too. But when you look at the tackle play right now, and y'all mentioned it earlier, it's inconsistent. It's consistently inconsistent. And I think a lot of it has to do with the flow of the game. And again, I've said this before about it's hard to be a good run team when you never run the ball. And, there's a rhythm you get into. Now, somebody came back at me one time and said, well, they should be great pass blockers because that's all they do. Pass blocking and run blocking are two different worlds. And the pass blocking world is you're setting on a different person every single week, a different skill set. It may be TJ Watt one week, but it may be, some guy that you've never heard of the next week. And that's, coming into his own. But when you're going against those guys, yeah, if you noticed, even on Highsmith, they were setting a little differently. They were setting almost vertical and hoping to get them to go back inside. And there was a couple of them that beat them too. They were worried about getting run around. But to answer your question about keeping the group together, it's hard for me to sit here and say that they're a physically bad group. I don't think they're physically bad. I just think there is an inconsistency in what they're being told to do from week to week. And I know you guys mentioned it earlier about, Browning and the way he was playing and Sample being in the backfield. Well, what do you think TJ Watt and Highsmith are thinking when Drew Sample's in the backfield? They're thinking pass 100%. And yeah, it could be 3rd and 3, but if you got Joe Mixon back there on 3rd and 3, you can still run the ball, and you got to respect that. But when you put Drew Sample back there in the backfield, you are doing that for protection purposes. That's 100%. And you take a receiving threat out of the backfield that could be a Chase Brown, and that's where, if you watch Philadelphia, that's one of the big things Philadelphia does, man. They leave Swift in the backfield, and you don't know, is it run pass, and he could come out of the backfield, he could protect, he could run. And that, I think it's more of, when you're talking about the line, they've got to figure out more of a consistent route from week to week and not make it such a one-sided version each week.
Defensively, the Bengals signed both linebackers in the offseason to long-term deals, Logan Wilson and Jermaine Pratt. Some have suggested that the reason they're not as good this year is because they don't have the safeties behind them. Is there any logic to that argument?
Early there might have been. There is a safety net to linebackers, knowing that they've got somebody behind them that's physical. And one of the points I made in the show last night was, I see Jordan Battle starting to come up and be more physical in the box and be more of a run defender. And that's something I know that early in the year, there were some times where there were two guys in the same gap, and it was almost like people were trying to overcompensate for each other. And now it looks to me like those guys are maybe allowing them to play a little bit more. But, you talk about being signed to long-term deals. I don't know either one of those two guys. They weren't there when I was there. I would assume that they're professionals and they're going to play as hard and prepare as hard. People are going to give them a hard time saying, man, well, they got their money. I would put that on the back burner. I've watched Logan Wilson enough to know, and Pratt enough to know, they're really good players. And sometimes, man, I mean, I know Logan Wilson was hurt there for a while, and he looked a step slower in a few games. But, I mean, as of late, the guy's making plays. If those safeties can progress like they're progressing, because they're doing a good job. I mean, those, especially Dax Hill and Jordan Battle, they're doing a really good job of progressing in the run stopping part of it, which I think will help those linebackers out a ton. So when that keeps going, I think you'll see progression as time goes on. It wasn't as bad from that point of view in this last game as I've seen it in previous games.
All right, I know you're going to join us again on Friday to talk more about Kansas City and looking at their team, but just from a big picture standpoint, we mentioned earlier, they've lost 5 of their last 7 games. They've lost 3 in a row at home. And we had made the comment here a number of weeks ago that they're just not the same Kansas City Chiefs, at least on offense. They're better than they've ever been during the Mahomes era on defense. Can the Bengals go in there and win Sunday?
I think they have a chance. Now, here's what I want people to understand. People are going to watch that Kansas City game and go, oh, man, they're not the same Kansas City team. We go in there, we're going to beat them. They're also watching the Pittsburgh game and what they just saw the Bengals do too. So, I mean, the Bengals have got to fix themselves too before they go in there, but they need to have the mentality because they've done it and gone in there. Now, the thing about Kansas City's defense is if you go watch that Las Vegas game, I believe their defense only gave up like 3 points. And the rest of that was off of, like a 7-second span where they had a pick 6 and a fumble return and a 2-point conversion. So they got like 15 points in 7 seconds on defense. And the offense problem, though, this is where the defense for the Bengals needs to be really good. Stay in coverage, keep Mahomes in check. Don't let him run all over you. But their receivers are not what they used to be. That scramble drills, broken plays, that's where Kansas City won Super Bowls. They win Super Bowls off of that stuff. They don't win Super Bowls off of, running straight ahead at you. They win Super Bowls off of that, finding some play here and there, like a trick play like they did in the Super Bowl. I don't want to call it a trick, but like beating man coverage in certain ways. But they went on broken plays, and their receivers, like one of the interceptions Mahomes had, he threw the ball, and then he's pointing at the receiver like, keep coming. Like the receiver just stopped. I don't remember which one it was, Vantez Scantling or Ross. It was one of those guys I've honestly never heard of the one guy.
Right.
And, they're out there playing with these guys, and Kelsey's they got him double, triple covered they ain't letting Kelsey beat you. So, I think right now that's the biggest issue is just take care of Kelsey, take care of Mahomes, and then honestly just let the rest of the people ride. I don't know where Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been, but he showed up one time in that last game, but they're not using him much either.
No, they're not. I'm kind of miffed by that because he's come back from injury. Pacheco's been hurt a lot. I'm with you there. Last thing I want to ask you about, I'm curious, when you're down there on the sideline and you watch some of the stuff that's gone on with the Chiefs here recently. They had Mahomes walking off the field. You could read his lips. Get the effing play called, man. You got Kelsey throwing helmets on the sideline. You got Mahomes undressing offensive linemen on the sideline. Maybe he was talking him up, pumping him up. I don't know. But it didn't look good. When you have those kinds of things going on the sideline, do we make a bigger deal about those things as a fan or the media than they actually are? Or if you're down there and you see these things start to happen, you start to say, this is not good?
It depends. Like, again, you couldn't really necessarily hear what he was saying to those linemen. There are times where the lineman, he might go down there. Like everybody's seen the Peyton Manning thing where he goes down to Jeff Saturday and says, quit calling plays. If I want to run the ball, I'll run the ball or whatever, and like there's times where sometimes it's just they go down and they're saying something to him like, you just need to do your job, man. You're trying to do too much. Just chill out. And, but again, they're upset. I don't know if anybody's watched Hard Knocks with the Dolphins, but last night there was one, they came in at halftime. It was a Cowboys game with the Dolphins, and Tua walked up to his tackle and he's like, hey man, I know I'm younger than you. I respect you, but man, you cannot let them run around you like that, and stuff like he basically had to, was like trying to scold him without being like mad at, because they get mad. These are highly infused testosterone men right now, when they're out there. I mean, everything's running at a high level, and you're going to get mad. Now, the stuff with the throwing the helmets, I always had to deal with my guys. I'm like, guys, like I get it if you want to throw your helmet, but you got to understand that's a bad look, and you're going to have to answer questions for it if you do that. And most of the time, most guys would come over and they might slam it in front of them, but to throw it and I saw one guy one time throw a helmet and like it launched back behind the bench and almost took about 3 people out. And that's not cool, man. But stuff like that. But yeah, you got to address that. And some of that is bad. Yeah. But sometimes when you see them getting, a little excited talking to each other. And I got one quick story. When it was the Thanksgiving game, when I was in Detroit, Adrian Peterson was on the team. And, we had a little disagreement on the sideline, and it just happened to the cameras were panned right on us on a national television game, and him and I are like having a little heated discussion, and then literally we just went back into it and put him back in the game, and I had forgotten about it. And then somebody sent, I go to my phone and there's like 20 text messages, some videos, and I'm like, what is this? Like, we were just having a talk, and everybody's like, man, they thought you and him were getting after each other. I was like, well, we kind of were, but it didn't. Honestly, we both forgot about it. So, I think that's kind of a good look at what it really is.
I'm with you all the way. That's why I prefaced by saying with Mahomes, we don't know exactly what he said. He could have been trying to pump him up, but it's just the look, like you're referring to in your situation. The look isn't always great. All right, man. Well, we'll catch up with you on Friday. We thank you as always for your time, and have a great rest of your day, my friend.
Yes, sir. You too.
All righty, Coach Kyle Caskey. We love having that guy here on Chatterbox Sports. I made the comment on Twitter yesterday, on X, that on his show, all of us are fans. The great thing about sports is we think we know more as much about the guys who are actually there, the play callers, the coaches, whatever it might be, right? And obviously we don't. And so one of the one of the guys that stands out in my mind that I worked with for years, and I always said, man, I hope that I can always have his curiosity to be willing to learn, was the late, great Tim McCarver. Did a ton of baseball games with him, and man, the dude would walk into meetings with the manager or whatever it might be, and he was always so curious about things. And no one, Joe Morgan and Tim McCarver, nobody knew more about baseball than those two guys, and Bob Brenly. I put those three guys in a category above anybody I've ever been around. Nobody knows the game more than all three of those guys. Ironically enough, right? Two of the three catchers. But we can always learn. And that Kyle Kasky show, you can learn so much about football, blocking patterns, blocking schemes, what's the defense trying to do. Great stuff on that show. I highly recommend. 5:30 on Tuesdays.
Yep.
Recaps right here on Chatterbox. Go to YouTube, Chatterbox Sports. It's every single Tuesday at 5:30. And we love to have him on to break down the game after. Sorry, this is a Wednesday to do that. I know this is boring stuff for a lot of people, including me, to be honest, because it's old news. It's time now to look ahead.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Listen, they got to look ahead. Kansas City Chiefs up ahead, and two games that are going to be huge. Kansas City Chiefs are 3-5 in their last 8 games. Lost 3 straight games at home at Browning Head. I don't know about you guys.
Browning Head?
Browning Head, yes.
Browning Head.
Allen Head. At
Yeah, it's people like Casey who walked around Burrowhead, calling it Burrowhead.
That
the
guy.
2 biggest games, they were 1-1 in
Well,
Burrowhead.
he
The
passed
rest
that
of them
torch
are
down to
meaningless. Meaningless.
What about
Regular season, nothing. In the 2 biggest games, 1-1. Go ahead, Casey.
I was just going to say that, well, actually, it's not the 2 biggest games. That would be 2-1 if that were the case, because he won the AFC Championship, right?
Well,
Or
I'm saying
what
the
did you
2
say?
biggest games are
Right,
the
the
2
two
AFC
AFC
Championship games. He's
So
1-1.
Gotcha. All right. We're on the same page now.
Am I missing something in here?
No.
Well,
Did
I was
Casey
just
have too
clarifying.
much eggnog?
Yeah, I think
I
that's
was just
what it
clarifying.
was.
Am I not allowed to clarify on this show?
he's
Let me,
not
let
allowed
me,
to
let me ask
clarify.
questions.
I think he's on that Aaron Rodgers good stuff over there.
Aaron Rodgers, humble guy.
Leader of men.
Whatever. Continue, Tom.
I think it's going to be called McCarron Head once Browning gets benched halfway through the game on
Dude,
Sunday.
come on. I mean, between Brock Purdy and Jake Browning, and I'm not comparing those two guys in any form or fashion.
You certainly could.
But, I
though.
mean, each of them has a bad game, and you want to just write them both off.
I'm not. I
Guys
don't wanna
can
write off-
have a bad game.
That's right. You're allowed to have a bad game. Listen, I'm not selling all the stock on Jake Browning that I have. That was a terrible, terrible game. He had some terrible, terrible throws. But as we all know, Pittsburgh Steelers are tough sledding. So I'm not gonna sell him off on that one. Jake Browning has been greater than my wildest dreams could have imagined as the backup quarterback to Joe Burrow in his 5 starts. He's had 2 tough games. He's been fantastic. He's been fantastic in 2 of them and been okay in 1 of them in the other ones. But other than that, yeah, it is what it is. Listen, Tom, this is going to Kansas City, regardless of how bad they're playing, regardless of what they look like as a team, will always be a tough ask. Just like regardless of how the Pittsburgh Steelers look going to Heinz Field, because as we all know, the Pittsburgh Steelers looked terrible for 3 straight weeks.
Yep.
Got blown out by the Colts, lost to 2 of the 3 worst teams in the league.
Yep.
And here they go, and they just completely waxed the Cincinnati Bengals. Going to Burrowhead is always going to be a tough ask.
Now it's Burrowhead.
Browning Head, Burrowhead. It'll mix up. I'll call it
it
about
was in
thing.
his head there right before he said. You could see
That's
him
right.
tremble.
Wrestling.
It was, it's
Started with a B. Were
It's
we
gonna be-
going with a consonant or a vowel? What were you doing?
It's listen, it's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs are always going to be a tough team, but everything that everyone's been telling me is true. Right? I've sat here and I have defended Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yes, you have.
Practically all year. Because of what Patrick Mahomes has done in the past, what he did last year with pretty much no wide receivers winning the Super Bowl, all that, I said, listen, I think they've got the best quarterback in the league. I think they got the best coach in the league. You're going to win a lot of games. But you sit down and you watch the Kansas City Chiefs, they used to be kind of fun to watch. You sit down, they're going to light it up, throw it across the field. Even if you hated them, it was fun football to enjoy. Now you sit down and you watch them, And it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's not even fun to watch anymore.
They really are.
Every single thing they do, where it used to be easy, you used to sit and watch the Kansas City Chiefs and wonder, why the heck can't the Bengals do that? Why can't my favorite football team do that? Now you sit and watch the Kansas City Chiefs, and you're like, man, it looks tough.
It's a struggle.
It looks tough. I mean, running the ball, tough. Getting an open man downfield. Patrick, someone put it
Catching a pass.
Right. Someone put it up there. Every single time that Patrick Mahomes dropped back, and yeah, there was some pressure on him, but he would have a second or two to read the field, nobody open. So he's just running for his life out there. It looks so tough for the Kansas City Chiefs, but here's the thing. Every single quarterback that's played against the Cincinnati Bengals as of late has had their lunch. Has made everything look easy. We just had Mason Rudolph throw for 300 yards. We had Kenny Pickett have a career day against us.
Yep.
Nick Mullins for 400. So we're going to go into this game and think we're going to shut down the best quarterback in the league in Patrick Mahomes? I don't know.
And I
don't
think,
know.
and Casey and I have talked about this earlier on, but the Bengals have been killed on these broken plays. C.J. Stroud, that game against the Texans here at home, it was broken play city for him, and he threw for 600. We had Lamar Jackson coming into town in the game we almost won. Broken play city, he threw for 300. It's just crazy, and as Coach Caskey said, the broken plays are how the Chiefs make their money a little bit. Patrick Mahomes extends the play, and then somebody gets open. I think it's going to be a disaster. I think it's going to be but at the same time, these are the games Zach Taylor will win. Zach Taylor will win this game.
You're right.
Zach Taylor
That's
will
true.
win this game by 15, and against the Browns, who won't be playing for anything on Week 18, we'll lose that
Maybe not.
game.
There's a scenario in which I don't want to say a likely scenario, but there's not a whole lot that has to happen for the Browns for them to be competing for the 1 seed next week.
Well, that ain't happening. I know what you're saying. There's a road there. I get it. But Baltimore is not losing 2 straight, especially if they know they have to play. All they have to do is win 1, and it's over.
Right. Well, like for the Browns to just even be competing for the 1 seed
It's
next
amazing.
week, all they have to do is win tomorrow and have the Dolphins win on Sunday.
Yep.
And then they'll have a shot in the
They'll have a
final
shot.
week to win the division and be the 1
Baltimore
seed.
would have to lose against Pittsburgh, and Cleveland would have to beat the Bengals.
Correct.
Yes. All right, let's take a timeout. We got lots to get to today, including we were talking about Purdy earlier. They put up a graphic during the game the other night, which is really when you consider, and he hadn't been around very long. He only took over as a starter about a third of the way through last season. But when you look at this guy's numbers, the NFC versus the AFC, it is mind-boggling.
What, when he's got to play a better conference, he struggles
Especially
a little bit?
the AFC North. I mean, his numbers are unbelievable, the difference. We'll get into that later. We got Marty Brenneman coming up at 11. Still no deal for the Reds. No Christmas present for you, Elliot.
None.
Right?
I think the Dodgers are going to get a couple more before the Reds get one. Add a couple more to their billion.
Which, by the way, I'm not a big analytics guy when it comes to, because I don't know how to look at it or find it or whatever. And shame on me. I'm sure it's very easy to do. But Casey and Elliot and Reed are all very good at this about some of our social media stuff that goes out. And then, you can always look at how many people viewed it, how many people liked it or disliked it. And I was surprised, if I heard you guys correctly, and again, we'll get to this after my dad, that there were a lot of people that didn't like the take about the Dodgers that I had, that the Dodgers are making it hard for people to not like baseball as much. We'll get into that a little bit later on. So let's take a break. Ad break. Casey, the floor is all yours. Come on, Casey, step up. You're a little down. Step up. Get back in the eggnog. I mean, I'll bring it in tomorrow if you want to get into it in the morning.
Come on.
Let's go. Here we go.
All right, the Bengals Report is brought to you by Encore Technologies. Encore Technologies provides IT solutions for a data-centered world with a suite of services from mobile computing to desktop to data center, supporting both centralized and work-from-home computing modules to improve efficiency and
Productivity.
the path to innovation begins here. Visit encore.tech.
Productivity.
Yep, there it is.
And let me tell you about Pawnee Water, made right here in Hamilton, Ohio. Uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing that other brands use. The result is a healthy alkaline water, and some say the best tasting water in the world. Visit Pawnee Water at PAHHNI water.com to see where you can buy this great tasting water.
Some
Drink
super
what?
chats.
Yep, read the soupy
Yep,
whoopies.
I'm going to get to that Let me go to my queue here because I have them all queued up. First off, Ben Riley with a $20 super chat.
Heyo.
With the entire offensive line getting a failing grade, in my humble opinion, a used condom would have given Jake Browning better protection. That's plus no run game and a defense that can't stop a nosebleed. Yeah, you ain't winning like that.
Damn right, Ben.
Frowning face. And then Parker Blake, co-host on Chatterbox Bengals. Hot take. The O-line didn't look bad as a whole. There were a couple players that have been struggling all season that crumpled. Jonah had a great game, in my humble opinion. Haven't broken open the All-22 film yet. That's fair. At Parker Blake, no opinion or not, objectively, statistically, empirically, every member of the offensive line not only had a failing grade, it was their worst game. They played bad. Sorry. And then Parker Blake said, so glad Coach Caskey can be the voice of reason for some folks. Keep fighting the good fight for us little guys.
Drew Garrison also with a $5 super chat about Elliot's new digs. Elliot looks so damn cool in his new clothes from Santa. You do look the shoes, the sweatshirt. You look nice. You look nice. That is being serious. All right, so similar to Elliot in the golf video, we are not an excuse guys. I am not an excuse guy when it comes to the Cincinnati Bengals. But if I was an excuse guy, as in regards to the 0-5 in the AFC North, they played all 5 games without a healthy Joe Burrow. Listen, that doesn't excuse it. It's still terrible. 0-5 against your own division is inexcusable. But they have not played one game with a healthy Joe Burrow. Casey?
Yeah, I mean, it's not even just without a healthy Joe Burrow. This entire season, only 30% of this season has been played with T, Jamar, and Joe all healthy at the same time. And that's not including the other injuries that have happened on this team as well.
And once again, not an excuse guy.
Not an excuse.
You guys bringing it up makes it excuse.
Tom,
the Cleveland Browns have had 4 different starting quarterbacks.
Well, that's a
place
lost that is known for its
arguably
success.
The best pure running back in the league as far as just taking a handoff and running the football. He's been gone virtually the whole year. They've lost every time you turn around a great defensive player. Delpit goes down. They've had Denzel Ward out for Lord knows how long at times this year. Every time you turn around, the Browns have a key member of their team go 4 quarterbacks. We were talking about this today before the show. We've seen Browning is the backup. Okay, what if A.J. McCarron were to come in? Okay. And then some guy who right now is sitting on his front porch smoking a cigar gets brought in, and he's the 4th guy, and they just rip off win after win after win. That's what the Brownies have done, and you guys are trying to tell me, oh, my God, they haven't had Burrow for 3 games. Please.
Everett Henry brings up a good point. Who's the Browns' best player?
The Browns' best player is Myles Garrett.
Has he missed time this year?
No, he has not. But
Joe Burrow missed time
hang
this
on
year?
a second. Hang on. If you're going to say that Burrow was limited with a bad ankle, which we know he was, okay? Myles Garrett's been limited for the better part of the last 4.5, 5 weeks. He's walking around with a sling during the week on his shoulder, and the cat's still getting out there playing. I mean, come on.
I don't like facts.
You can't use Burrow's injury and not acknowledge Myles Garrett.
The other thing that I will not use an excuse, Tom,
Oh,
before we get to this
you just
Marty's
did.
interview.
You just did.
Listen, this side of the room, we don't like making excuses. Absolutely no excuses for the way the
Please.
Bengals have played this year.
Please.
But if there was an excuse, it would be that the fact that out of the 15 games the Bengals have played, 13 of them have been against playoff teams.
Now, that's a fair statement because that's a factual statement.
The only 2 teams that they had that are not trying to get in the postseason at this very moment are the Titans and the Cardinals. Every other team that the Bengals have played are teams that have very compelling shots to get into the postseason.
Yes, indeed. All right. Big weekend, no doubt, for Marty Brenneman. Big Christmas weekend. Is he around?
Yep, he's ready.
He's here. Well, good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Are you at home, or it looks like you might be down in Ashland, Kentucky? Where are you, if anywhere?
We certainly are having a nice day with Amanda's mom and dad and sister and her family. Yes.
Any Laura's lean breaking out there?
No, we haven't had any beef to speak of to eat since we've been here. No.
You going vegan on us, or what are you doing?
No, I'm not. Absolutely not. I'll leave that for somebody else, not me. No, I don't do that. I have a regular stable diet that does not require any specificity as far as, what you eat or what you don't eat. And I do okay for that. I'm good for that.
Okay. Your thoughts, if any, since you're just like everybody else in this room. I mean, you had a chance to watch the Battling Bengalis. What are your thoughts about them laying that egg on Saturday?
I was very disappointed. I have a hard time understanding, and I'm sure that having never played the game, never played any game at a level that would warrant the question, but I don't understand, or the statement rather, I don't understand how you can be so flat in a game that means so much, especially, if you go on the assumption, and everybody I talk to, and I ask the same question going into that game, if they win 2 out of the 3, so they would end the year 10-7. They've got obviously Kansas City and then Cleveland on the road and at home for the 2 games. Are they in? And most people felt 10-7 would probably get them in. You have to really wonder about the game coming up this weekend in Kansas City. And not that they couldn't win it, but you certainly don't expect them to be favorites going in. And then they got Cleveland at home. I think they can beat Cleveland at home. But at the same time, the game against Pittsburgh is a game that they had to win, and they should have won. And they were so flat, it was sickening. I still have a hard time believing that they lost a football game as emphatically as they did. I think Mike Tomlin, to me, is one of the great coaches in the National Football League. And to be able to dominate the Bengals year in and year out in the manner in which he does, sometimes is baffling. I mean, you scratch your head. They got a third-string quarterback in Mason Rudolph, who's been around for 1,000 years, and gets an opportunity to play because of circumstances. And he goes out there and plays like an all-pro. He was sensational. I have a hard time understanding, and I just feel like if there is anything to be said for the coach's ability to prepare a team, I'm sure there are those who said, hey, the players know how important that game was. And so if they're going to be flat, it's going to be on them and not the coaching staff. And I don't know that I believe all of that.
All right. I noticed behind you there, you have a Cincinnati Reds 150th year anniversary sticker on the magnet on the fridge back there.
Yes.
Here we are. Christmas is come and gone. We still have a number of days, handful of days left in the new year, or in the old year before the new year. The Reds have not swung that proverbial deal that we've all been thinking they would for a starting pitcher. I've asked you this before on this show. I'll ask you again. Should you be a little concerned that they haven't done it?
But I'll answer that question this way. If you had asked me in October, do you expect them to come up with a pitcher before the first of the year? I would have said absolutely, unequivocally, yes. So the fact that maybe they have not done it as we talk here on the 27th of December, I'm a little bit concerned about that. I haven't talked to anybody. I haven't talked to Nick in forever. Maybe they feel like, you know what, we're happy with what we got, and this is the way it's going to be. Or they can say, we haven't made a deal for a lot of reasons. Most notably, everybody knows that we are looking for a veteran pitcher that can help this young rotation, and they're trying to, take everything we have in order to make a deal. This question probably is going to be asked regularly up until the day the last of the so-called pitchers that have been on the market, rumored to be on the market, have been traded to other clubs, or the free agent pitchers have signed with other clubs, and the issue will become a dead one, which will then raise another question. They're going to go with another youthful rotation. Is that going to work? And that is a subject that obviously is going to come up down the road in the event that they don't make a deal. So, yeah, I'd say that going back to October, if you'd asked me, I would have said that it'll be done before the first of the year. Here we are 4 days away from a new year, and nothing has been done. So, yeah, I'd say I'm a little bit concerned about that.
You know, the thing is, and we've talked about this before, about the starting rotation, the way it stands right now, and Nick Kroll has said that Martinez is going to come in with a chance to be a part of the starting rotation, but he has been primarily used as a reliever. And we've talked about how all the young guys, not one of them has pitched a full season at the big league level, and how that may affect their innings limit going forward. I just don't think enough is being talked about that in that regard. Because let's just say theoretically, next year you get into August and they're in contention like they were this past August. Now all of a sudden you're having to do something with these young guys that they've never gone before, if good Lord willing they all stay healthy. And then you're looking around and going, gosh, you know, do we have to take a guy out in the fifth inning or the fourth inning? I think that's a big deal.
I think the bullpen was burned out by September 1st.
Yep.
And I can foresee the same scenario on September 1st of 2024, unless the manager and the pitching coach and the assistant pitching coach can make it perfectly clear to the rotation pitchers, whoever they might be, gentlemen, you are going to have to go to the post with a mentality every 5 days of pitching more than 5 innings. Now, I'm sure that they would say to you today, well, that's a given. That's been that way ever since we brought this group together as a very potentially a very talented young pitching rotation. And so that would be their answer. Oh, are you kidding? They know that. Well, I don't know that they know that, because I don't see it happening. And I don't care how good a bullpen you have, and I think they've improved their bullpen by the addition of the 2 players that they brought in. I don't care how good that bullpen is on paper. They are going to be burned out again come September the 1st, 2024, unless this group, Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Graham Ashcraft, the Andrew Abbott, et cetera, know that they've got to go to the mound and pitch better than they pitched last year individually and as a group in order to give this bullpen a chance to show how really effective it can be.
Yeah,
I think it's a very simple thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that bullpen potentially, you and I both know, though, you know, and that's the one thing about baseball. You know, you could add a terrible bullpen one year, and you bring back 3 or 4 of the same guys, even on a bad bullpen, and they might come back and pitch great. I don't think anybody saw Elliott's good friend, Ian Gibaut, turning out to be the pitcher that he turned out to be this year. But is that a guarantee he's going to be the same Ian Gibaut next year? No, it's not. But, I mean, you know, they've got some guys down there that if you don't run them in the ground, the Mole guy that they acquired last year, he did a nice job with his team for what you asked him.
He sure did.
They've got some guys down there that, you know, I mean, Lucas Sims makes you a little crazy. The stuff is great. We all pray TJ Antone could come back. What a boost that would be for the team. That could really become a serious strength for this team this year.
Yeah, and I also think the guys that they added, if they're as good as it appears that they can be or will be, everybody else then has a comfort level that maybe they did not have last year, because they knew that more often than not, over a 7-game week, they would be called upon 4 or 5 times earlier than most bullpens are expected to be asked to come in and pitch. Now you've got guys slotted into specific roles, and they have a comfort level knowing that, you know, we got a chance to really be good, but we got to get more innings out of our starting pitchers. And I agree with you. The bullpen normally with a club, just because it was really good doesn't automatically mean it's going to be really good the next year. So I just think it's something that they've got to be confronted with, the rotation pitchers, but more importantly to me, the Hunter Greens of the world and the Nick Lodolos of the world, they've got to stay healthy. And if they're not, if they're going to be China dolls, then I don't care how potentially great your stuff is and how the expectation down the road is once you get a couple of 3 years under your belt, you're going to be one of the dominant pitchers in the game. Doesn't make a bit of difference. If you can't stay healthy and go out every 5 days and pitch, it's not going to happen. So that's an unknown factor that nobody can predict. But at the same time, the track records for a couple of those guys has not been very good. And in order for this team to exceed what it did in 2023, a lot of things have to come together. The other thing we talked about a couple of weeks ago, and we've all seen it happen too many times, that old dreaded sophomore jinx, which is a phrase that was adapted or adopted for baseball more than any other sport.
Yep.
Because you have guys that are outstanding players, and then the next young players, and then the next years, for whatever the reasons, they don't equal the numbers that they posted the year before. This is very important for this club because of the number of rookie players that were so blasted impressive in 2023. Are they going to equal or exceed what they did last year, this past season? If they do, this team is going to be some kind of good. If they don't, and 2 or 3 of these guys fall by the wayside for whatever the reason, then now you got a problem that is going to impact the entire team. So, it's easy to say, and I know how fans are. We were 82-80, and nobody ever expected them to do that. Think how good they're going to be next season, and that's understandable from a dyed-in-the-wool fan. But you also have to be objective, and you have to think about things that fans don't want to think about. But at the same time, I think they're valid questions, and only time will tell whether the Spencer Steese of the world and the Encarnacion Strands and the McLeans, et cetera, can come out and play the way they did last year, or in some cases even better. If they do, it's going to be a truly memorable and exciting year.
All right, boys, let's bounce around. Mr. Brenneman's got a lot going on down there in the Commonwealth, where, by the way, my guy Cal, he's got it going on. I mean, we may not have him going on the show, but he's got it going on. Casey, anything for Mr. Brenneman?
Yeah, I'm actually not going to ask a basketball question. They had a solid win against Oklahoma. They took care of business there. I was actually going to ask about the Dodgers because we had a very lengthy conversation, I think the last show that we had that Friday. We talked about whether or not the Dodgers were currently ruining the sport of baseball. They spent $1 billion, or they've committed to $1 billion on 3 players.
In 10 days.
In 10 days. And it just doesn't seem very competitive for the game of baseball. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I don't disagree with you at all. I think there's no sport when you talk about the big ones, baseball, football, basketball, hockey. There's no sport that can equal baseball for the problems that they have and the nearsightedness that they displayed a million years ago, unlike Pete Rozelle, who had the foresight to realize that revenue sharing was going to be something that was going to make their game so much better than everybody else's game. And now here we are in 2024, or heading into it, on the heels, let's not forget now, the New York Mets and how much money they spent under Steve Cohen, and where did that go?
And the Padres.
The Padres, another team. So I don't think that just because Ohtani got a ton and the young Japanese pitcher, and I don't think they're done yet, that doesn't automatically put them in the World Series or put them in the postseason. But I do think it's a stark example of the haves and the have-nots of baseball. I don't think it's healthy. At the same time, I don't know that there is an explanation or something that can happen in the game that's going to change it. It is what it is. And baseball has put itself in a tough position. and how the world they're going to get out of it, I have no idea. I just think it's something that people need to be concerned about. I think that there are a lot of people who are going to root like hell for the Dodgers to fall on their face in 2024 for the very reasons that we're talking about right now. From a Dodger perspective, and I've referenced a book I'm still reading called The Game, which covers a period from 1990 into the early 21st century of this game. It covers a lot of monumental events, strikes and the performance-enhancing drugs and a multitude of things, focusing on Bud Selig and George Steinbrenner and Donald Fair and another number of other baseball notables, and the problems they were dealing with then are problems that are being dealt with now. So there's nothing that's happened that is going to change the complexion of this game economically that I foresee, and it's something that they're going to have to live with and something they're going to have to deal with, especially the small market teams. And if you're and this was pointed up in this book, if you're George Steinbrenner and you have the financial wherewithal to do what you want to do with your money, then you're not thinking about the welfare of the game. And he didn't, and they made it perfectly clear that when baseball tried to tax him more so than everybody else, or put in rules that would impact him negatively more so than anybody else because of the amount of money he was spending on players, he didn't care. He said, I'm trying to win, and I'm going to do what I can to enhance my team's chances. And I think the Dodgers are doing the very same thing. The thing is, they can do it because they have the finances, as opposed to clubs like Cincinnati and Milwaukee and some of the other ones that don't have that. But it's something that baseball is going to have to deal with. And whether or not the rules change down the road, we don't know. But the track record would indicate not a whole lot's going to happen in that regard in this current economic situation.
All right, one good question in the books. We have two others that we'll find out if they can answer the bell. Reed Mouse.
Hey, Marty. Listen, I know you want to talk to my good friend and yours and Elliot, so I just got to ask you one question. With the Christmas season over, what was the best present you got this past weekend?
Yeah.
What was the best present you got for Christmas?
I'm trying to think. I got some good stuff. I got a lot of clothes.
All right. Yeah, you're a little short on clothes. That's a good thing. You're a little short.
I know. So to be specific, I don't know that I can be specific.
What did Tom get you?
I'm very happy with the way Christmas went. We had great visit with Tom and his family Christmas Eve, and my daughter Ashley, who's down in Florida with her family now. And so I've been very happy with the way this holiday has gone, and I'm sure, Reed, that you feel the same way.
Merry Christmas, Marty.
All right. Well,
and Happy New Year, Reed.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we come to, Elliot. I don't know where this is going this week, but I'm very excited.
I know.
Hi there, Marty. You look very handsome this morning. How you doing?
Can I ask you a question first, Elliot?
Yes, you may.
When I got set up to do this, and I dial up, the studio, and sure. I'm hearing you all chat, and Tom's talking to Reed and to you and to Casey, and they have camera shots of you guys, and I see the shot that they have of you. My question is, you appear to be one of those people who, when they receive Christmas gifts, they can't wait to wear them. You got new shoes on.
Maybe.
New shoes on.
Yeah.
The sweatshirt looks brand new.
Maybe. It could be.
Are you one of those people?
Yeah, well, I think it's rude. I think, listen, I gave my boss a present last Thursday, and it's still sitting on his desk. So I think if you wait sometimes, right, you have to show respect to the people who bought you these gifts. So yeah, absolutely, Marty. I think if somebody gives me a gift, Marty, I don't know if you're going to give me a gift. I haven't received one from you yet. It could be lost in the mail. But I was thinking about it. My mom and dad, they got me a new pair of shoes. So I'm like, you know what? They spent good, or Santa did, whichever one you prefer. They gave it to me, and I said, you know what? I'm going to wear them. I'm going to show my support. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Do you not think that's fair?
I'm with you all the way.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, when it comes to like next January, and my Christmas present for my boss is still sitting out there, and that's the argument against it. But I have a question for you. I have a question for you, Marty.
Go ahead.
You look back. You look at this Bengals team, and I know you're the baseball guy, but I know you love football deep down. You look at this Bengals team, this Bengals game on Sunday coming up against the Kansas City Chiefs. You can make the argument that both of these teams are in need of a win, and both of them are pretty damn hungry for a win, I'd say. Which of these dogs do you think will run faster? Because I think if you look at both of them right now, you can make the argument the Kansas City Chiefs are the hungrier dog.
I agree with you 100%. Excuse me. I agree with you 100%.
I think so too.
This is a team that if you're the Bengals, you don't want to have to play right now.
Yep.
What are they? 9-5, 9-6, something like that.
Yep.
I mean, nobody would have ever dreamed that would have been the case after 15, 16 games that they would be in the position they're in. And I agree with you. We're talking about that dog that's hungry and run faster. I think that dog is going to be wearing a Kansas City helmet on Sunday.
I
agree with that.
Okay, all right, that's good.
Yeah.
So I didn't make a big joke of it today, Tom. I was very serious with my question. I was very deliberate. Marty's a very busy man. He's got things to do. Oh, I do have a side question, though. Marty, will you join my bowling league? I'm in need of another man.
Well, you know what I'd suggest you do, and this show's over and you go home, when you walk out the building, find the first person you run into and ask them if they'd like to play on your bowling league.
Okay, all right. Well, okay.
That'll
That's
be the
best
lawnmower,
answer I can give you.
Yeah.
Are you any good at bowling?
Oh, Marty, I'm worse than you can ever imagine. I'm so bad, it's scary. I'm so scary. They don't let me bowl a whole lot in my bowling league, but I'll tell you what, it's fun. We all have fun.
Does your league have the bumpers in it?
Yeah, they do actually, and they got that little thing where you push it over the ramp.
Right.
For the kids.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's what I use. But it's a lot of fun though. It's a lot of fun.
I love bowling.
Yeah.
Our son just went bowling last night. Him and his buddies.
How about that?
Yeah, they loved it.
I'll challenge him. Does he want to challenge me?
You know what? He would take you up on that, I think.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll put a responsible wager down.
Who would you bet on there, Dad? Elliot or Luke?
I'd bet on Luke on one leg to beat Elliott.
Well, that's fine.
To begin with, Luke is very athletic. And they may say a lot of things about you, Elliott, but that ain't one of them.
Here we go. Marty, I don't know if you know this, and not a lot of people know this about me, but I was an all-city tennis player. If you look back in the record book, when the story of Cincinnati Sports is written,
for the Mighty Panthers.
That's right. When the story of Cincinnati Sports is written, Marty, they're not going to talk about the 2012 Reds and they lose, and any Reds team following, because this Reds franchise is cursed, or the Bengals to never win a Super Bowl. They're going to write about me, all-city in tennis, Marty. I'm the greatest tennis player that ever was.
You played at Elder High School?
That's right, Elder High School.
You were on the school team.
I was on the school team, and I was captain of the team, Marty. How about that? I was a leader
Which
of men.
number were you? Were you the number 1 player, number 2, 3, 4? What were you?
So how high school tennis works is that there's singles players and then there's the doubles team, right? So I would be I was the number 3 singles, but I was the number 1 doubles. Boom.
That's pretty big league. I got to give it up.
Then I owe you an apology then. I owe you an apology. That's a very athletic team or athletic sport that you played.
That's right.
I would be very interested in knowing, were you less poundage then than you appear to be now?
Yeah, well, Marty, I put on about a freshman 15 at Toledo, and unfortunately, just haven't lost it. So, in fact, we've added to it quite a bit, but that's fine. Well, there's so much time to go, Marty, in my life. I'll start tomorrow. I'll start tomorrow for you.
You start tomorrow. What?
I'll start this diet for you tomorrow.
You know what you're thinking right now? You're one of those guys that thinks about that quarter pounder with cheese and biggie fries and a large Coke.
You know I don't eat.
I've heard this material for so long.
You know, Marty. You know I don't eat burgers. I've never eaten a burger in my entire life.
You try one then.
I'm stopping this now. I'm not letting this go any further.
All right, we're done with this.
All right, Dad. Thanks for your time. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you day after tomorrow.
That's correct. That is
Yes, indeed.
absolutely correct. We look forward to it. I'm going to call Luke on the way home today and see how things are going back there in Terrace Park.
Well, you better get the full lowdown. You better get the full lowdown.
Okay.
That's all I can tell you. He's
All
not
right.
going that good. All right. We love you. We'll talk to you later.
Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year.
Marty.
God
We'll
bless
look
you, Marty.
That's right. That's right. That's right. See, I wasn't going to let that go any further.
You could have let it go further, Tom. Listen, I'm not the. When people think of me, I try to make everybody laugh because deep down I'm deeply troubled, and this is this is part of it. So I'm gonna be fine. We're all gonna be fine. We're all gonna make jokes together. Tom, I was gonna call you Marty.
I would love to see some tape on you playing tennis. I really would.
There's no video footage available.
No. So.
Yeah, but the
just gonna
bottom
take your
line
word.
is you can't argue with what I mean. You're in there as an all-city player. You're in there, man.
First
I mean,
team, second
you
team?
can't take that away.
I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
think
If
it
you're
was-
even listed, even in the honorable mention stuff, they came out in the Inquirer over the weekend with all the high school football teams.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
First team, second team, honorable mention. Dude, if you're in those categories, that's big league. It means you've played well.
That's right.
It means, especially when you're playing at a school, as much as I hate to say it, I'm not an elder guy, but I mean, that's a big league sports school. Big time sports
Some
school.
say. I don't know.
I mean, you got to, a school like Marymount, where our kids went, you'll get a lot of kids that play 2 sports, some that play 3 sports.
That's right.
You can't do that at a place like Elder and St. X and these places.
Gotta
I mean, you
focus
can't
in.
do it. You can't do it. And because it's too competitive. You've got a ton of boys, and only so many make the basketball team. Only so many make the tennis team. Only so many make the lacrosse. I mean, St. Xavier lacrosse, they had more boys on their varsity, JV, and 2 freshman teams. They had more players when we played them than Marymount has number of boys in the entire high school.
That's wild.
It's insane.
Yeah.
That's wild. We take things
We
very
still hung in there with those boys too. Now they didn't want to hang around much. Tough sledding.
We take things very seriously in the GCL. Very serious.
You don't believe Baden's a part of the GCL?
I know it's not part of the GCL.
Well, it's not.
It is. What are you
It's not.
talking?
It's part of that co-ed GCL.
Yeah.
The
right?
Greater Catholic League, and yeah, there's a division for the smaller schools, but yeah, it's 100% part of the GCL.
Okay.
I'm sorry we're not highfalutin.
I'm
like-
sure LaSalle will join you guys real soon.
Well, they might be a co-ed school here soon.
Steve Ross says the Pit is the best high school football facility in the city.
I would have to agree.
No doubt.
I would have to agree.
It's a place to be.
It's the number one.
I mean,
place
when
to
you've
be.
got, what's his name that comes here to play here in town, Darius Rucker, that's a big league operation.
Did you go to that concert, Tom?
No, my dad did. In fact, he sat the entire game. He sat during the entire concert with Bill Self.
Really?
Bill Self was in town. I'm trying to remember why. There was a connection there of some kind with Kansas basketball and somebody who was involved in that whole thing, raising money for charity. I don't think it was Kyle Rudolph. It was Kyle Rudolph's charity, if I remember right.
Correct.
So maybe there's some connection between him and Bill Self there. I don't know. But he was there for the concert. Of all places to go see Darius Rucker in a concert. I mean, you can go a lot of sweet places.
Right.
And he comes into Cincinnati to go to the Pit. And, so he went and said it was unbelievable.
That's impressive. Bill Self has to be the first championship coach to be on Elder's campus?
Oh, no. They've had a lot of big-time coaches that have won championships come to that campus.
Yeah.
Come
They've
on.
had a
A
couple.
lot of second and third place finishes.
Wasn't there a point in time
Never
where
stops.
Elder High School had more, and I'm curious if we can look this up. There was a point in time where I read, now that may have changed because of the number of games that they're playing in southern states now and so on and so forth compared to here in the Midwest. But there was a point in time not long ago where Elder had more high school baseball wins than any high school in the United States of America.
Yeah, they have 14 state championships in baseball, so
Pretty good.
it's the most successful baseball team. But a lot of them were back in the day.
That's right. They're nothing much anymore.
Well, back in the day, a lot of them were the local newspaper would just put an article out that said Elder state champions, and there was no tournament or anything.
That's right.
They just won a game, the final game of the year. They beat Oak Hills or West High, so they're the state champs. They're the best team in the state. That's how they crowned state champions back in the 50s and 60s. But I digress. Back to football, Tom.
Yes.
Back to football.
Back to football. Are you guys watching any of the bowl games?
No.
God, no.
I think that's a really bad product there. I've been out on the bowl games for quite some time, and I'll bet on the bowl games, and it's just I still can't watch it.
How do you bet, in all seriousness, on bowl games? Because I was looking at, say, the lineup for tonight, and I said earlier in the monologue, you got Louisville has had a really good regular season. They've won 10 games. They've lost 3. They got beat in the ACC championship game against a beat-up Florida State team, but Florida State won a game, and God bless them, finished undefeated, left out of the playoffs. But they're taking on USC, no Caleb Williams, right? Their second-string quarterback, the guy who was a number 1 quarterback recruited in the country, Malachi Nelson, has already announced that he's leaving USC in the transfer portal. So they're starting a third-string quarterback. I just use that game as an example to the question I'm asking any of you. If you're betting on bowl games, and you said you were, how do you bet on that game?
You have to. Well, the number one thing is you have to know who's playing. You have to know who's playing. Like Oklahoma State tonight, I forget they're playing. Help me out. I don't know who they're playing.
I think they're playing the Texas A&M. Is that who they're playing?
That's who it is. Okay. Texas A&M's guys aren't playing, so I'm betting on Oklahoma State. It just depends who's showing up to these games or not. It just we found out, was it yesterday or 2 days ago? Marvin Harrison isn't playing for the Buckeyes.
Just found out.
So we're probably gonna have to lean the other way again, back to Missouri. So it's all kind of weird. It's just random. It's more lucky, I would say. So if there was ever a true 50-50 wager, it's betting on these bowl games because you just don't know.
Why isn't Marvin playing? I thought he was coming back next
he
year.
went down with the team. He practiced the first 3 or 4 practices, and the story broke over the weekend that he did not practice on Monday, I think it was. He was there. I give the guy all the credit in the world for being there for his teammates. I mean, that clearly tells you he's going to go in the draft, and there was some debate about that for a while there.
That's right.
But at least he's there with his team. I mean, you look around.
That's fair.
Is Caleb Williams with the Trojans? I don't know. Maybe he is. Is the May kid with North Carolina? They're playing today, I think, or tomorrow. Is he there? I don't think so. Now, 2 or 3 of the Ohio State players who are projected first-round picks, they're there, and Jack Sawyer, defensive end, is playing in the game and has said he's probably coming back next year. You've got Denzel Burke, first-round pick they're projecting, cornerback, right? He's playing in the game. He said he's already decided what he's doing about coming back or going pro, but he's not going to announce it until after the game. The dude's playing. I give it up to him. As it stands right now, we brought this up last week. Ohio State has 8 or 9 juniors who are projected, and Harrison's a junior, who are projected first, second, third round picks. And only one of them is not playing in this game as of today. And they play 2 days from now. Only one's not playing, Marvin Harrison Jr. Everybody else, at least right now, and they have 48 hours to change their mind. I just think that speaks volumes. Whether you like them or hate them, I think it speaks volumes of the kind of character of the players on Ohio State's team. They're all there. They're all there. And did you see the story what Devin Brown did? The guy who's starting at quarterback? Did you see this story?
No.
This is an unbelievable story. So apparently everybody on the team has loved this kid, Devin Brown, right? 5-star recruit, comes in, competes for the quarterback job this year with Kyle McCord. They pick McCord the last week of the season to start the opening game of the year. And so Brown is the backup. So Brown now is going to start in the game Cotton Bowl against Missouri 2 days from now. Apparently, Brown is one of the most popular players on the team. Apparently, he's tough. He cares. He's a gamer. He never shut it down when he lost the job. Continued to grind, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So he's going to start the game. He just bought every player on the team. 100 players in this day and age of NIL. These brand new JBL speakers. And they figure they cost over $14,000.
Wow.
Now, you could say, oh, so what? It's the NIL, right? It's the NIL. So it ain't his money. Of course it's his money. If whatever company was doing that, he could have stuck $14,000 in his pocket. He went out and bought every player on the team this week before the Cotton Bowl these brand new JBL speakers to the tune of like $14,500.
That's impressive.
That's big league.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Tom, what does it say about the Big Ten if the toast of the Big Ten, Ohio State, loses to Vanderbilt or whoever they're playing?
Well, they're playing Missouri, who was as you recall, the runner-up to Georgia in the East of the mighty SEC. So just like Ohio State was the runner-up in the East to Michigan.
I'm not even being facetious here. Missouri plays in the East of the SEC?
I'm pretty sure that's right.
Because they are probably the farthest west team in the SEC.
But I think they are. I'm pretty sure. I'd have to check that.
A&M's the only one that's farther west.
Yeah, you're right. But when they added those teams, let me see.
I think it's pronounced the West.
Yeah, they are in the East.
That reminds me of back when the MLB used to have Cincinnati in the West Division and the Cubs in the East Division.
That's right. That was bizarre. Very bizarre. Well, I want to confirm that because I mean I just punched it in here to.
Except they're all saying that they play in the East.
Yeah, they play in the East, and they were runner-up to Georgia. Yeah, Georgia was 8-0. Missouri was 6-2 in the conference, and 10-2 overall. And they come into this bowl game on a 3-game win streak. Missouri's favored in that game by 2 because Ohio State's playing with a backup quarterback.
Are you worried about that game,
No.
Tom, as an Ohio State fan?
No.
You think they're just gonna?
No, I mean Missouri's strength is they have one of the best running backs in the country. I think he's the third leading rusher in Division I. And if there's one area where Ohio State has been rock solid all year long, it is their defense stopping the run. They shut down Michigan in the run game when they played them, but they gave up big plays to and had a couple of picks there that led to touchdowns. So that has been a strength for Ohio State's team, and it looks like they have all of their starters that are going to play in the game.
According to Alex Wallace, Brown is a JBL partner. So JBL sponsors Brown.
Yes. But they have an agreement with him. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that he has an agreement with JBL, the speaker company.
Correct.
Right. So when they have whatever agreement, if they say, okay, we're paying Devin Brown $50,000, he says, okay, we'll take out $14,000 of that so I can buy speakers for every guy on my team instead of sticking the $14,000 in his pocket.
Okay.
So that's the world we live in with NIL.
Okay.
That's the world we live in. And we brought up earlier about, what is this? Says Drew Garrison said Ohio State is getting improper benefits from big tech.
Tom, not to get back to the NFL, but
yes, let's get back to the NFL.
I've been messing around with the playoff predictor just because it's that time of year. I know for the past few weeks I said don't do it. Now we're in the final 2 weeks. Now you can do it all you want. But if the Bengals lose this week to the Chiefs, and the Titans beat the Texans, the Seahawks beat the Steelers, the Bengals would have a 50% chance of making the postseason, even if they lose this week.
Okay.
That's crazy. That's crazy to me that they could get in with 9-8. If the Titans beat the Texans, which I think we all can agree could happen. Titans are playing good football right now.
Ain't going to happen.
It's not likely to happen.
That is not going to happen. If C.J. Stroud is back, it's not happening.
Well, did you see Tannehill was taking snaps at the end of that game too, the Titans game? I think Levis got hurt.
Yes.
So
Let's see the spread on that one.
Might be
well, he started the game, didn't he?
Tom,
you're right. Tannehill did start.
Take a guess on the spread for the Tennessee Titans at the Houston Texans.
Well, I mean, without knowing whether Stroud is playing, it's probably only like a 2.5 point spread. 4.5. Okay. If he plays, that will bump up.
Do you think that'll jump up?
Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I
think so.
Yeah, certainly. But is he not confirmed to play yet? Like he is, and that's still not confirmed. Okay. Well, that being said, I mean it's just crazy how all this stuff can shake out. We talked about the Browns could still be the 1 seed, and it's not likely. It's like a 5% chance, but it's not like you need 30 things to happen for the Browns to be the 1 seed, and it's not like the Bengals need 30 things to happen to get in at 9-8. It's not likely, but.
No, but we brought up earlier, and again, this is, again, and there are different models, and so I don't know which one to put stock in. I really don't, because it's amazing to me how different they are, but we understand why they're different because you're putting in winners of other games in this game and that game and so on and so forth. So whatever you're putting in, it's going to spit out the probability. But the bottom line is, according to Nate Silver at the New York Times, they're at 18% now.
Correct.
It would go, I believe I read, to 54% if they win in Kansas City. And if they then turned around and won their last game of the year, it would be just fractionally above 94% to make it.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Okay.
That's right.
Look, I mean, like I said when we came into the show today, the game against the Steelers is such old news now. Tomorrow's already Thursday. I mean, we're cranking up the second to last weekend of the NFL season tomorrow night with the Browns and the Jets. Mm-hmm. It's time now, boys and girls, to, will we be able to look back on this season if they don't make it and we can relive games like the Steelers twice, the Titans 27-3, I think was the final in that one.
Yeah, that was a bad one.
The Baltimore game where Burrow gets hurt. I still think the biggest single of all of those games, to me, the one that stings the most, because where would we be now, is still the Texans game.
Yeah, Tyler Boyd catches that pass.
That's still the game for me. They'd be 2 over, right?
Right.
Instead of 1 over. And, they would have the same record as Buffalo. They'd be 9-6.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you'd be 3 over, and you would just be sitting pretty. Not great, because you still have to play Kansas City and you still have to play Cleveland. But man, oh man, you take your chances 9-6 a hell of a lot better than 8-7.
Yeah, and you wouldn't even have to watch the Texans anymore. I mean, you would have the tiebreaker over them.
That's right, like you do Indy.
Right. So
Right.
you would be in a really, really good spot. Really good spot.
It's the thing that as we look back, and I know you're trying to move on to the Chiefs game. We got 4 hours for the next 2 days to talk about the Chiefs game, but and I said this before Coach came on, was just the fact that they've gotten blown out 4 times this year, and it's all been against physical teams, right? The rest of this division, this AFC North, when other teams think of the AFC North, they think of the Steelers and the Ravens and now the Browns and all these physical teams, and that's just not been the Bengals' MO over the past few years. Now the Bengals have won the division, right? Like they've back-to-back AFC North champs, so it's been fine not being that physical team, but when it's become so apparent that they can't play these games, that they can just the key to beating the Bengals is just be more physical than them, it's becoming more and more of a problem. 0-5 against the AFC North, regardless of the excuse that I made earlier about how the first 2 games Joe Burrow was banged up. The third game he plays, he gets hurt in the second quarter. And the 4th and 5th game, it's been with Jake Browning. Regardless of not having a healthy best player on your team play, it's become more and more of an issue that I'm seeing looking at the way that Zach Taylor coached. And out of everyone in this room, no one beats Zach Taylor as a good coach more home than me. But when I look at that and they just get physically outmatched by these other coaches, these more established coaches, it's becoming more and more alarming.
I just wish you would be a little bit consistent. That's all I want. I just want some consistency. When you play,
can't you say he was consistent if he won back-to-back AFC
That's true.
North titles?
Right? Like it's true. Like they've won back-to-back.
They're consistent at being inconsistent, sure. But I at the same point, we for the first time all season we threw in Drew Sample on every single. And I hate to keep bringing up that point, but that's just a fact. Reed said it happened. It did not happen often.
It happens literally every game.
It does. It happens twice a game, dude. It doesn't happen every single time.
Charlie Goldsmith has been on this show joking. When I joke with him about the Drew Sample thing, he's like, "What do you want me to call you? A third down back?" Because he does it all the time. He's back there for protection. When we lost Samaje Perine, who was the blocking back, Joe Mixon, who has gotten better at blocking, we realized, hey, let's get somebody back there just to protect Joe Burrow and Jake Browning, and that answer's been Drew Sample. And also, Drew Sample has gotten 2 touchdowns on 3rd down out of the backfield.
The past several games, it has been Chase Brown in the backfield on 3rd down. It gives you an option to, like Coach Caskey said, run the ball, or, God forbid, we run the ball on 3rd and 1, or you can throw it to him for a screen. Other than that, it's a lost play. It's a lost play because the defense knows what's coming. When you have Drew Sample back there, you're surrendering. It's a give up. He has not been back there 80% of the time. He's been back there every once in a while. He was in the backfield on third down every single time on Saturday. Every single time. I don't understand why it happens. He does stuff like that nonstop. It's just crazy. At least the only thing I can think of is the only positive I can take away from that game is he didn't have one of our tight ends throw the ball. That's the only good thing I can take away.
Wish he would have. I would have loved a Charlie Jones pass. But I don't get I understand that you were frustrated about the Drew Sample.
It was
thing,
like
but
3rd and 5. It was like 3rd and 5 in every single third down, Freed. It was not like that this entire year. It hasn't. I will go back and I will find each game and I will find the percentage of snaps Drew Sample is on or is in the backfield on third down. I will find that for you because it is not more than 50%.
I'm not saying it's more, but it like things change game to game. You're acting like it's some new phenomenon that Drew Sample has been back in the backfield on third down when it's a clear passing situation. Yeah, there was a couple times where it was 3rd and 3 when it wasn't a clear passing situation. But when it's 3rd and long, I have absolutely zero problem with Drew Sample in the backfield being a block because he's a good blocker and he's already caught 2 touchdowns out of the backfield on third down this year.
We'll see.
Breaking news for the Bengals. We're not surprised by this, but apparently this morning they've already activated from injured reserve Cam Taylor-Britt.
That's great.
And Lord knows they need him. I mean, after what happened the other day, Awuzie's been a nice player on this team, but whoa. They have their hands full and then some with Pickens. But they don't know, apparently, the word from down at Paycor this morning, if he's physically going to be ready to play on Sunday in Kansas City. And look, we know the deal on the Chiefs. And Reed brought up earlier about watching them. Kelsey's getting very frustrated because they don't have that. The rookie's had a nice year. He's been a nice player for them. Really nice player at wide receiver.
Rashee Rice.
The other guys are dropping balls all over the place. Now, does that mean they're going to drop them this Sunday? Of course it does not. They might catch every one of them. They might be the best receiving core in the league this Sunday. And they're probably licking their chops after what they watched the other day with no pass rush from the Bengals. And here you've had these guys that have been given the chance of a lifetime. Casey, nowhere to be found. Seriously, where are these guys? And I tell you, I'm not going to do this time next year. I'm not going to do it. It's like I say in baseball. I don't care about what guys in the minor leagues do. I've felt that way for years. I don't care. I don't want to hear about it. I don't care what a farm system is rated. That doesn't mean squat to me. It means nothing. It means that they're potentially good minor league players and not guaranteed to be major league players. In this same vein, I am now on the football front. I am not allowing myself ever again to get caught up in this Joseph Asai, Cam Sample, Carter. I'm never, ever, ever going to do it again. So when the Bengals start training camp next year, and good Lord willing, we're still doing the show, I don't want to hear those names ever again. You want to talk about Bryant? Murphy? That's fine. Because at least he's shown you something this year that would lead you to believe there is a chance of being a decent player. The rest of these guys, the only guy that's there all the time, as far as a pass rusher is concerned, the only guy they have is Hendrickson. And if that guy goes down, they are DUN done. And you say, well, wait a minute, B.J. Hill has career high in sacks. Big deal. Big deal. They don't have anybody there. You and I were talking before the show today. The Bengals are how many tens of millions of dollars under the salary cap? And you mean to tell me they couldn't sign Jadeveon Clowney? I said that when it happened. They couldn't go get Jadeveon Clowney on a 1-year deal? And if he flops, who cares? Where is Joseph Asai? Is he alive?
Last year, and I know you just said you were done talking about Osai, but Osai flashed last year. I mean, he had a lot of great plays. This year, he's been non-existent. I don't know where Osai's been. He's been hurt, I guess, buried in the depth chart. Cam Sample, I never thought he was going to be the premier pass rusher that we would need, that third guy or that second guy right next to Hendrickson, but he was a solid backup to Hubbard, that role of that run stuffer. Zach Carter has been very bad this year. That draft pick has failed. In all honesty, Tom, this offseason, besides signing Joe Burrow, I guess Orlando Brown was the best.
Well, that's a huge deal now. Highest paid offensive lineman in the league.
Right, but what was it worth it? Like, I don't know if it was all that worth it in the end. And then you look at all the players that we had to then settle for, like the Nick Scotts, fail. Irv Smith Jr., fail. I mean, we did not hit on a lot of stuff in this offseason. Even you look at the draft, too. I mean, we needed production right away from some of these players that we brought in, and we just didn't get it. And it showed up really big this year. Hopefully, these guys develop next year, but it's not looking great at the current moment. The projection is not looking great. Not at all. And there's definitely not a pass rusher right now that I'm feeling like super great about besides Hendrickson. I mean, Hubbard, every year seems like he gets dinged up for a couple weeks, and those are the most important weeks of our season. And, I mean, he's not adding anything in terms of getting to the quarterback. I know he had great numbers before he got hurt, but where has he been at lately? I feel you, Tom. I feel you.
I get so frustrated by it, like so many, because I'm so tired of reading in the paper or reading on the internet or these podcasts of nothing more than shills that are telling me how, it's a big breakout year. Who on the Bengals this season? They've had guys that have had good years. And look, somebody referenced, and you're exactly right in the chat, the sky is not falling. The Bengals are a game over 500 through all they have been through. They're a game over. They found a way to hang in there, and with 2 weeks left to go, have a chance to make at least a fighting chance. And that's all you can ask for, really, every year. That's the story of the NFL. Every team has a fighting chance. And the Bengals, through all they've been through, here they are with a chance still to get there. Okay, but having said that, is there a guy on this team you look at and you say, they have made such a significant leap during the course of this season? I'm not talking about as a rookie, because let's face it, not many of the rookies were getting much playing time. Murphy was nowhere on the field early, right? Chase Brown was out, injured, wasn't playing at all, that kind of thing. Is there anybody that's in their second and third year? Now, Dax Hill's getting a chance to be a starter. He's been a good player. Right? He's come along. But is there anybody in that front seven on defense that has stepped up and been better this year than they were last year? The linebackers aren't better.
Trey Hendrickson's probably
No, I exclude him from everybody.
Okay, I was going to say.
He's in a different category.
Yeah, he's stepped up big time.
Yeah.
On the defensive side. But, yeah, I mean, like across the board, like DJ Reader being hurt, like no one stepped up really. The rookie Miles Murphy has shown flashes of it. Sam Hubbard was, being a better pass rusher than he's ever been, but certainly the run stopping. Yeah, I mean, the defense as a whole has taken a major step back. That's clear as day. You're seeing it with how many points they're giving up, how many yards they're giving up every week. They're near dead last in every statistical category other than turnovers. They do get the ball. You got to give them credit. I think the Bengals are the best in the league at getting the ball and the turnover differential. Cam Taylor-Britt in the secondary has definitely taken a major step forward. No doubt about it. We saw it in glimpses at the end of the season last year when he started getting more and more time as a cornerback, and he's certainly cornerback number one on this team, as it's been evident when he's been hurt over the past few weeks. We've been shredded. But on the defensive side, yeah, no one's really stepped up. I mean, like I said, the defense as a whole has taken a major step back. On the offensive side, who has taken a major leap forward?
Volson's had a good second year.
Second half of the year, he was
terrible.
I know,
but overall, from his first year to right now, he has made a significant step forward.
I would say he was terrible to begin the year.
I understand.
Yeah, but he certainly has improved as the year has gone. I've seen flashes of Jonah Williams being a decent right tackle.
But he's gone.
The tight end room has certainly exceeded their expectations.
Drew Sample.
In all seriousness, like Tanner Hudson, Drew Sample
fair.
have exceeded their.
That's fair.
Not Irv Smith have exceeded expectations. Listen, when I look at
Junior.
when I look at this Bengals team, you always ask the question, and we used to get on you a little bit, are the Bengals better than they were last year? And they haven't had the season that none of us, certainly haven't had the season any of us expected. They were one of the top 3 Super Bowl odds. Clearly, more than likely not going to get there, right? They'd have to really turn it on these last few weeks. But in the face of adversity, they're still 8-7, playing 13 teams out of their 15 games that they played that are in the playoffs, over 500. They've played the toughest schedule in the National Football League with a banged-up quarterback for the first 4 weeks, with a backup quarterback for the last 5 weeks, and they're still 8-7. So that's worth something.
Yes, it
now,
is.
if you start to, take every player and say, did you play better? Did you improve than you did last year? Then you start running into some things, right? I don't know. I really don't know what to feel about this Cincinnati Bengals team. Are there pieces that really excite me to see where they're going to be the years coming forward? Outside of Chase Brown on the offensive side, not really. I gave kudos to the tight end room. I still think we need to get a tight end. I've seen some things from some of the young rookie wide receivers like Yoshavas. I still think we probably need to get another wide receiver with Tyler Boyd leaving the room. When I think about the defensive, we're sitting right in the middle of the league in sacks, where we're right next to the teams like the Philadelphia Eagles and the Steelers and the Cowboys and sacks this year. But we're still not getting a consistent pass rush, and Lord knows that the secondary's been torn up, even though I've still seen some things from the rookies. So it's a big enigma. It really is an enigma when you look at where this Bengals team goes going forward. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what this Bengals team's going to look like at this time next year. I don't know what they're going to look like come September of next year. I really don't, Tom. So if you're asking me what have I gotten excited about, outside of Cam Taylor-Britt, outside of the continued success of Trey Hendrickson, outside of a couple rookies showing some flashes, not a whole lot, in all seriousness.
And you didn't even mention that we're going to lose Tyler Boyd. Well, we don't know the whole story with T. Higgins yet, what we're going to do there. I imagine you franchise tag and trade, but you don't know. So we'll see. It's been a disaster.
The amazing thing, and when you said this, it made me think, and from time to time I'll think it, and I always forget to bring it up on the show, but when you stop and think about, and I know you're talking about the greatest player in the history of the league in Brady, right? And some would say the greatest coach in the history of the league. But one thing you pointed out, when you go look at the Browns' schedule, for example, this year, okay, they were a last-place team.
Right.
And you look at the teams outside of your division games that you're playing. Okay, so the league sets it up where, look, you're going to play a certain division.
When you play the top,
okay, but then if you're a first-place team from the year before, you're playing the 40 – well, they played that division this year. But you're playing teams that all of a sudden, were generally a lot of playoff teams from last year. That's why that New England thing, they win 17 in a row.
Yeah.
Division title, 17 out of 8. It's unbelievable. They face those schedules every year. And also what that means is when you're playing at least to the championship game, which they did, 12 or 13, whatever it was, you're drafting 26, 27, 28, 29 every year, if not 31 or 32, because you're playing in the Super Bowl. And yet they just continued year after year after year. It's amazing to think of. All right, do we have anything else before we get out of here today? Anything else?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. We're working on tomorrow. We still got to go through our picks tomorrow from last week, even though they're old news. Right?
That's right.
Yeah, we'll do that
All
tomorrow.
right. Tomorrow we're going to have, waiting to hear back tomorrow from James Rapine. Friday we know we have Charlie Goldsmith. We'll have picks as well. We'll mix in a couple of college bowl games this week for the picks, along with our NFL games.
Sounds good.
Okay.
We got to pick the big ones.
We'll do that. And I just want to say, my cherry on top, can we roll that?
Yep,
From our
you
good
want the
friends
cherry
at
on top?
UDF, please.
Yep.
I have my own cherry on top today.
Tom, bring an ice cream in.
This is a big one. This is a big one. My cherry on top today I'm going to get out of this, monkey suit here, this shirt and all this dress shirt and all that kind of thing, and make my way to someplace over in Montgomery to play pickleball here in a little while. I love playing pickleball. I am going with our kids and my bride, Polly, who today is her birthday.
Happy birthday, Polly.
So, I just want to say I love you more than anything in the world. I'm not a perfect husband. You are the perfect wife. And I hope you have an awesome day today. We're looking forward, all of us as a family, to celebrate your birthday. Happy birthday, Little Pauls. Do we have a show coming up?
We do.
Your host day today.
It is. What a day. Tune in.
Is there anything that is going to be, little dicey, little controversial, anything at all?
Well, no, but I will be going over the rigged game that was last night, Kansas versus UNLV. That bowl game was rigged. And I will be discussing in length.
Rigged?
Rigged.
You didn't bring this up in the show today.
Well, I had to save something for my show.
Tom, before we
I understand.
Tom, before we let you go,
Yeah.
did you get a haircut?
I did,
for
and
Paul's
I got it.
birthday?
I walked in the other day, and I'm going to leave the name. I may have to start saying your bride.
Okay, hang on.
Okay. Because I walked in the other day and I said, "Hey, dude, can you take off maybe a quarter of an inch?"
Yeah.
Because it was getting a little long. But I just want to clean it up because my wife, happy birthday, makes it. She likes it a little longer, a little curlier, a little wavier, all that stuff. I walk out. Now I like this better. But see, when you start to lose your hair, you start to look like you have mange. You ever seen a dog with mange?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? That's what the top of my head looks like right now, mange. Like I have mange. I have bald spots and I have hair spots. Right? She has a point.
I think you look great.
I think
She
you
got
look
all the
sharp.
brains.
I think you look good, Tom.
Yes.
I think you look cute.
I'm going to Mariana from now on. Will she be able to sneak me in?
Yeah, just
She's right around the corner.
literally block away.
I can walk.
You can walk if you
I
want
can walk.
to. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
I'm going to her next time.
All right.
Parker wants to know when's the live pickleball stream, Tom.
Live
You
pickle-
versus Elliott.
That'd be
All
well.
city.
You got to have a
All
doubles. We got
city.
to have a doubles game. Let's set up a doubles game.
Yeah, can you play singles in pickleball?
You can, but it's not the same game. Doubles game is much better game.
Well, he was all city in doubles, so I don't know if you'd probably have a better shot against singles.
Well, maybe. Okay. All right.
I was also
Casey, have a great rest of your day.
I will.
Elliot, do the same. Reed, everybody, thanks so much for joining
tomorrow,
us.
Tom.
Closing in on the new year. Lots going on. Bengals still have a fighting chance. Drew Garrison wants to see Tom and Trace against Elliott and Reed.
set it up.
That'd be a big league match.
We'll set it up.
All right, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for being with us. And coming up now, Box Lunch. Here we go!
I must admit, I didn't think much of this show the first time I laid eyes on it. Seemed like a bunch of stiffs wasting nice
The worst trade
microphones.
of all time happened back in 1803. Go ahead. Napoleon